Let me now go across, in fact, and introduce our panel this evening. We have Niranjan Hiranandani, Vice Chairman of NDTV. Niranjan Hiranandani, I just want to understand from you, sir. The government says that there has been a massive increase capex outlay as well, which the people, those who are cheering for this budget, seems to suggest that this is going to, in a way, propel the growth. I mean, infrastructure will bring more jobs, and that will have a cascading impact, a positive cascading impact as far as the economy is concerned.
I think I am fully with the fact that the high investment in the infrastructure is going to give and leapfrog this entire economy. So infrastructure, housing is going to be a leapfrog, which is essential at this point of time, because otherwise the capex that we wanted to attain for the $5 billion target is not going to happen. So all this which we are talking about is an essential part of the overall plan. But having said that, if we want ultimately GDP to grow beyond 7.2%, which is ultimately the objective of the government, infrastructure and housing has to be a part of it. If you look at what China did when it attained 10% GDP growth plus, it was only because of housing and infrastructure. Today, because their infrastructure is more or less complete, because they don't require much housing, and that has been slowed down, their GDP growth is also down. Of course, their overall economy is 5 times India's, and we need a long time before we can catch up. But the infrastructure development, both in terms of roads, railways, airports and others, is absolutely essential. There is a second point to it, which is more important about infrastructure, which was probably missed out by the finance minister to mention. Logistics cost in India is almost 13%. Which means every item which is transported in India, 13% becomes the cost of transport. While in China, it is less than 6% to 7%. Now, if we can improve the infrastructure and reduce the cost, we will be able to increase GDP of India by 2% simply because of an improvement in logistics and a reduction in the transport and logistics cost of India.
Right.
So this is an important factor which does. And the third factor which becomes important in infrastructure is employment. If you look at housing, if you look at infrastructure, whether it's road, ports or airports, the employment factor is very high. Manufacturing today does not employ as many people. Earlier in manufacturing industry, there was very little automation, so employment. So today, whatever we have spent on infrastructure is very, very, very important. And I'm glad that this size of infrastructure development is done. They have doubled it in 3 years. I think it will go even further. And that could be the base for leapfrogging India. Otherwise, you will become like Pakistan and Sri Lanka, where nothing like this has been done.
Right. Hirandani, a lot of people and experts across the globe are talking about 3 important factors which are on the horizon as far as the world economy is concerned. Of course, the growth in the world trade has slowed down significantly, and it's expected to slow down further in 2023-24. Then many advanced economies are expected or are on the brink of entering recession. And then, of course, the global security situation, which is also impacting the stability, whether it's Russia-Ukraine war, and of course, the impact on the oil prices as well. Does this budget insulate India if all these three, the 3 sort of scenarios do play out together in the year 23-24?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, because we are integrated with the entire universe now, and we have a great amount of trade with all countries, including China. So we are integrated with the rest of the world, and obviously the recession which takes place in Europe, in the Western countries, does affect our exports and other aspects to it. On the other hand, Russia-Ukraine war also affects our position because of the price rise in the oil, which has taken place. So that's the second factor. But the third factor, which is very important and which I think the budget has really taken care of, is in 2 parts. Number one, that they are focused on the internal development, which is much more. So whether it is manufacturing, whether it's the PLI scheme, the focus on housing, the focusing on internal infrastructure development, so that we are able to generate actually goods and these products into the country. To the extent to which we export, there is going to be a come down. There is no doubt about it, and we have factored that into the budget, but I don't know whether it's going to become worse or better. One thing which has been positive with the Modi government, which I must compliment them, is the geopolitical management of the West and the East. On one hand, we've been able to shake hands with the West, and at the same time, we have been able to buy oil from Russia at a much lower price. We have saved 35,000 crores in the last 6 months by buying oil from Russia rather than from the open market situation. So the answer is yes, we are affected. We are definitely cannot insulate ourselves. That's why our GDP growth is 7%. If the world economy comes back to normal, I think we could work hard and go to a double-digit growth of economy. But until that doesn't happen, and we don't know what the future is of the Russian-Ukraine war and the recessionary trends of the Western countries and the interest rate hike, which is there in the foreign countries. I think these 4 factors will be the factors which will run the economy for the next year.
Dr.